Hello, welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended for another mod showcase video. Today I'll be showcasing 5 new creature mods that I've released in the past few months. All of these creature mods can be played cross-platform, so without further ado, let's get straight into it. Kicking things off, we have the Cyrus Critters Red Panda, which is another gem from Cyrus Creates, which of course will add this cute little guy to your world. Oh, look at that cute little face. If you love the otter, then you're going to love the Red Panda, as they are a shoulder pet and are just as cute. Adding to this, they do come in 3 different variants, with their own set spawn locations. The default Red Panda appears as a fiery red coloured coat that is said to be found in the redwoods. However, I did actually find most of these in the jungles on the island. The snow variant, which is a cool white furred version, which is of course found in the snow biome, and finally the jungle variant with a deep green camouflage coat found in the jungle areas of the map. It has its own unique taming method. The first thing you'll need to do is unlock the Slop Engram, which can be unlocked at level 15. This can be crafted directly from your inventory, needing 1 giant bee honey, 10 medjool berries, 10 tinter berries, and 5 raw meat to craft one. It does spoil relatively quickly, but can be refrigerated to massively increase the spoil timer, and does stack into 50s, so you can stock up on it if need be. You do, however, only need to feed it 1 slop to begin the taming process. Stick Slop in your final hotbar slot and walk up to it to passively feed it. Once fed, it will perform one of 2 animations, either performing a belly rub, where you can approach it and rub its belly to gain taming effectiveness, or it will enter a scare stance where it puffs out its belly like it wants to start a fight. A very good impression of something a chav would do in England. When in this state, you must go into prone to gain its trust. It will also walk towards you whenever performing the scare animation, so it's very predictable. If you do fail to prone in time, the taming attempt is cancelled and the Red Panda will flee, so you will have to start from scratch. It'll soon calm down and you can rinse and repeat until it is tamed. Once tamed, the Red Panda has an array of useful abilities. As it is a shoulder pet, it will give anything inside its inventory 50% weight reduction when perched on your shoulder. Adding to that, it also gives a massive weight reduction to any item placed inside its inventory, which I do believe is around 70% weight reduction. I ain't the best at math, but you can see I have nothing in my inventory here. The panda has a bunch of stuff weighing around 75 weight in his inventory, and when I pick him up, my total weight is only 37.8, so they can help you carry way more items than any other shoulder pet in the game. Another cool feature that you can do is when perched on your shoulder, you can access the wheel by pressing and holding R on PC, X on Xbox, or square on PlayStation, and enable auto transfer. So let's just say you need to go out and harvest a quick bit of metal. The Red Panda will auto transfer resources from your inventory into its inventory without you having to do anything. It's a really cool feature. Who would have known a little panda would be so useful in hoarding resources? Standing next to or having one on your shoulder works the same as the otter, massively increasing the player's hypo and hypothermic protection, which can also be improved by leveling their melee stat. More features include helmets. Yes, you can equip them with high quality helmets for that much needed extra armor protection. When killing wild pandas, you can use their tail as a scarf. It is said to keep you warm, but I didn't notice any of my cold resistance go up at all once equipped. I can tell you I won't be using their tails as a scarf because they're just too cute. I can't bring myself to kill them for that. I had to look away from the screen when killing this one for the video. No panda tails will be seen wrapped around my neck ever again. And finally, when accessing its radial menu, it can be set into a sit-in stance where it will go for a cheeky nap. This, however, is not just for cosmetic purposes and cuteness. Any nearby baby creatures will receive a small buff which will accelerate their growth, so the Red Panda is a nanny too. It really can do it all, which is why it's such a great creature that I can highly recommend to any and every ARK player. Up next is the Gargant Tyrannosaurus from Pat 1419, and I'm always going to be very excited in checking out a new variant of T-Rex, and this mod caught my eye immediately, for obvious reasons. It does state in the mod description that you can find these bad boys spawning around the mountains. However, this was the result when using the Dino Finder on the island map. They are said to spawn more commonly on extinction, typically around the wasteland. Some of you may or may not be happy to know that the Gargant Tyrannosaurus is just a simple knockout tame, preferring exceptional kibble or above for the best taming efficiency, also the same as the Vanilla Rex. Once tamed, it is saddled up at a whopping level 92, a much higher level requirement over the Vanilla Rex. This can be crafted in the player's inventory. Stats wise, it does seem very similar to the Vanilla Rex, and when you compare the size, you can see it is much larger. Its attacks and its abilities is where it will massively outshine it. It has a primary bite attack, of course, dealing around the same damage as a Rex. When holding down the primary attack, a charge bar is visible, where it can grab and pick up a variety of small to medium creatures with its jaws and devour them whole. The Gargant Rex will also receive the rapid regeneration buff after devouring a creature in its mouth, so health and stamina regeneration for the duration of 30 seconds. Also having the alternate attack of a Romper Stomper Stomp attack, dealing some hefty damage. The Gargant Rex also does have its own rage mode. The rage bar can be located at the bottom left of your screen, so after it has taken a beating for long enough, when the rage meter is above half, it is now time to hold down the alternate attack button, which will allow it to stomp and remain in a rage stance for a short duration of time. You can then hit the primary attack button to perform a deadly tailspin attack. Yeet! Which deals some big boy damage and some massive knockback. It will then perform a buff in Raw, giving the buff Powerful, which will boost its stamina regeneration and give it extra melee damage for the duration of 50 seconds. And if those attacks weren't enough, the alternate attack can be used when the rage meter is full, and it will perform a giant AoE attack to any nearby targets, dealing high damage, knockback, and debuffing any affected targets. Damn, an absolute earthquake of an attack. That is the real Romper Stomper. The effects and sound effects of this Rex does make it a lot more intimidating than any other Rex in the game. So yep, it is far stronger than the vanilla Rex. Might even go as far to say that it is too powerful for its own good. I did also notice that the rage bar doesn't seem to drop even after the big boy stomp attack, so maybe that needs looking into. Surely its rage bar should fully deplete with such a powerful attack at its disposal. Other than that, I am pleasantly surprised by how cool this Rex version is. I was getting a little worried at first that it felt very similar to the Paleo Rex, but no, it does still feel quite unique in a few ways, and I had a lot of fun checking this one out, so I would highly recommend checking it out to anyone who is a fan of the T-Rex. Up next we have the ARK, which comes from Izanagi. I'm a big fan of this creature. Anything that offers great utility is always going to be a great creature to make friends with. It is basically a cow, and we all know how useful the cow can be in real life. You'll find the ARK spawning around the grasslands. They did seem like a very rare spawn, or at least they were for me, finding only 4 on the map when playing the island. If playing Aberration, you can find the Aberrant variant in the blue zone, and for me they were actually very common on Aberration. To tame one of these guys is a relatively simple process. Place down a feeding trough nearby to one that you want to tame and fill it with food like berries, veggies, honey or kibble. Their preferred kibble is superior kibble or above. They will walk up next to the trough and start eating from it, which will begin the taming process. When the taming progress reaches 100%, just walk on up to it and claim it, and you'll have yourself your very own ARK. Once tamed, the saddle can be unlocked to level 45 and crafted in the smithy, and if you are wondering, saddles can be found in red supply crates. Stats wise, they do have pretty decent health, great stamina and weight stats. The ARK has different qualities depending on the sex that you tame. For example, the female ARK produces milk in many qualities. Upon milking an ARK, it will have a cooldown until you can milk it again, which is based on the milk quality, ranging from 30 minutes to 24 hours, and having a male close by for the mate boost will halve the milking cooldown. The ARK milk comes in all qualities similar to kibble, with each quality filling different amounts of food or adding different buff timers. Similar to wyvern milk, baby wyverns, drakes or magmasaurs can also consume this milk to fill their food levels. All qualities of milk will stack and can be placed inside vanilla refrigerators to massively increase the spoil timer. The male ARKs are the fighters. They have a charge attack which upon impact is said to stun targets. I never noticed any sort of stun effect on any of the creatures I attacked, but it does deal a nice amount of damage to the target. They have a similar radar mode as the parasaur, which I'm pretty sure is meant to work exactly like the parasaurs, or at least that is what I saw from a video clip online. Right now it doesn't seem to show any enemies on screen like the parasaur does, so maybe this feature is a little broken at the moment and hopefully will be fixed in a future update. They aren't the strongest battle mounts when riding a singular ARK, however they do receive a herd bonus which will go up to +5 in a group of 6 or more ARKs, with each member adding increased damage and damage resistance to the pack, and they're actually pretty deadly in a herd. Adding to this, the rider can also wield their weapons when mounted for that extra damage output. Not only do they produce their own resources, but if killed they can be harvested for raw fillet steak. Using raw fillet steak in taming has a 1.5 times the effect of raw prime meat. You will also have a small chance to find an ARK chibi after killing wild ones, where you can have yourself your very own pair of ARK chibis. How cute is that? Their feces is said to be very useful as fertilizer, however whenever they poop it just seems to vanish into thin air, so yeah, that probably needs looking into. The only downside to the ARK, unless I am missing something, it doesn't seem that they can actually harvest berries at all. I mean, they have to eat, right? So surely these creatures should be able to gather berries for themselves, and they are definitely herbivores because they receive the healing benefits of sweet veggie cakes. Other than that, I do love the ARK and all the utility it can bring to the party. Our fourth creature is a brand new one that came about a few days ago from Ziphius, bringing the beast to the game that is the Megastotherium, which is a highly aggressive and powerful mammal. It kinda looks like a cross between a Daeodon, a hyena, and an Andrewsarchus, but it is much larger than all three. So to find one, you will need to look in a number of places. For example, on the island, they spawn commonly in the snow biome by the looks of it. However, I did read up that they are meant to share spawns with Rexes, which definitely don't spawn in the snow at all on the island, so a little bit contradictory there. Anyway, they also spawn in the Badlands on Scorched Earth, which in case you didn't know are the areas near all the oil veins on the right side of the map. And on Aberration, they commonly spawn in the green and blue zones. As for Extinction, they only seem to spawn in the Wasteland. Once again, the taming process is relatively simple. You will need a tanky creature that has natural armor protection, with a lot of health and ideally a good saddle, as your creature will need to be up to the task of taking a good beating. I used a Carbonemus in this case, but you can use a Trike, or better than both would probably be a Stego. Or Ziphius' other creature, the Mayalania, is also a good pick. Any creatures like that, and you're good to go. You'll know you have the right creature for the job, as you'll see the broken shell icon and timer at the top right of your screen, and also a sound cue at the sound of breaking bones when the Megastotherium begins attacking your tame. And all you need to do is let it eat your creature of choice until it is tamed. I did also test that if you do damage it during the taming process, it will not lose any taming effectiveness. Once tamed and saddled up at level 74, you'll have yourself a new and interesting battle mount. The saddle design is pretty cool as well. I like that it's been given a collar kind of like a dog. Speaking of dogs, you can also have it sit like a dog via its radial menu. How cute is that? It's very fun to use, but it does also feel a bit like a less agile Filer to me, but man, they are beautiful. Look at that. I really love the look of them, and they also have such pretty colors. I can imagine it's pretty difficult to create a creature with so much fur, so the modder has done a really good job thus far. And check out that cosmetic roar though. If that doesn't strike fear into its opponents, I don't know what will. I would say they have similar stats to a T-Rex, so they are pretty tanky and deal a decent amount of damage, having a few directional attacks at its disposal, the regular bite when facing forward, dealing the most amount of damage, a claw attack when facing to the side, which has a much quicker attack speed, but deals much less damage than the regular bite, and a pivot attack when attacking while facing behind, which doesn't ever seem to hit by the way, so that probably needs looking into a little. They do also have an alternate grab attack, where it can pick up a wide variety of small to medium sized creatures in its jaws, and when using the attack button will crunch down on its prey, dealing some big boy damage. But the coolest thing about it is not its fighting capabilities, but its keen sense of smell. You can utilize this when holding the crouch key when mounted and selecting the option sniffing adds nearby creatures to known smells. The Megastotherium will then sniff out any creatures in a nearby radius. If finding any new creatures, you will see a green text prompt at the top of your screen stating it has found a certain amount of new scents. After having a good sniff, you can go back into the radial menu where you can choose to search for any of those creatures in the nearby area, so it can come in very handy for finding any wild creatures that you want to tame. What I will say is that I do think some of the movement animations seem a little wobbly, dare I say that word. I absolutely love the concept of it. It's not perfect by any means, but it does have potential to be. I do love what Ziphius has done with the Megastotherium so far, and I'll definitely be keeping a close eye on any future updates for this beast of a creature. And the final creature I wanted to showcase also comes from Ziphius. This is the Enantio Phoenix. Hopefully I didn't butcher that name, but I probably did, and I love this mod. There's definitely nothing else like this in the game right now, and it's so nice to see peaceful little birds like these flying around. They will be a nice ambient addition to your world. You will typically find them spawning in the Redwoods or at the Oasis on Scorched Earth, but they will also spawn on Aberration and Extinction too. When nearby to one, you can hear them chirping away, which is so nice to hear when out exploring. Feels like I'm out here hearing the birds singing outside my window in the mornings. So they can be tamed via passive taming methods, preferring sap from your final hotbar slot. They are extremely skittish, so you will be needing to wear a full ghillie suit. I guess Cactus Prof could also come in handy if you have access to that. Wait until one lands and spam the feed button. What I will say is that they are a little bit of a pain to tame, especially if you are playing on 1x rates like me. Taming a high level felt almost impossible impossible, as they do fly off and sometimes take a long time to come back down to land, and by that point the taming effectiveness has massively dropped. I did however tame this level 20 right off the bat, with one feed of that tasty sap. Once tamed, they act as a shoulder pet, so naturally they will give any items inside their inventory 50% weight reduction when perched on your shoulder. Oh, how cute is that? They are so tiny. They will also produce sap in their inventory over time, offering more great utility, as sap is an important resource for many reasons. It will produce this right up until it reaches its full weight capacity. After tamed, they will eat berries, so be sure not to forget to feed them. Another thing they can do with sap is temporarily disable turrets, as crazy as that sounds. I did attempt to whistle attack target on the turrets, while also whistling it to move nearby while on neutral, but it still wouldn't attack the turrets. The only way it did work is when I set them to aggressive, and it worked a treat after that. They will throw sap over the turret and temporarily disable it for around 1 minute. The little birds are also not targeted by the turrets at all. So yeah, a pretty cool feature, that's for sure. It would definitely shake things up if this creature was part of the base game. But what I love about them the most is that they could sit on wild and tame creatures, just like how some of the wild birds do in, say, Africa. I'm not really sure where I've seen photos of it, but I definitely have seen wild birds chilling on top of a rhino's tusks or on the back of a giraffe. Anyway, there is plenty of options to cater to your liking when accessing the radial menu. You can enable or disable sitting entirely, sitting on wild or tame creatures, etc, etc. It's a really awesome feature and I just love it, man. How cool is that? Your creatures will never be lonely ever again. All of these reasons are why I decided to pick the Enantio Phoenix for my final creature to showcase. I know it's not a big bad theropod or beefy mammal, but I really wanted to show it some love, as it's such a cool and unique creature that you can add to your game. And that will close out the video for today. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if it was enjoyable, helpful in any way, please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care. Goodbye.